Be doing something quirky and a policeman would just say, oh, it's you, Spike. Just let him go.
He was very, very verbally loving. I've rung to tell you I love you, and that was every day.
Grandpa, you're just such a nice person to be around, especially if you're a kid.
Writer, musician, goon, poet, artist and humanitarian. Perceived as a genius and madman in equal measure, Spike Milligan's life was full of contradiction, controversy and comedy. But where did it all begin?
I'll tell you how it all began. Father Milligan was an army man, and he, with his family, was serving in India.
Hunting tigers out in India, out in India. Yeah.
Leo Alfonso Milligan was no ordinary regimental sergeant major. Billed as a soldier showman, he entertained the military men of the British Raj with daring cowboy stunt shows. His bride, Florence Kettleband, was also an entertainer, singing and playing piano in concert parties, pausing briefly to give birth to her first son in April 1918.
And so came forth one Terence Allen Milligan. The British had built this aura of grandeur about themselves.
His mother would be drinking champagne with the other wives in the garden at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It obviously was very glorious.
It was a wonderful, colourful, bright, sparkling world. It really was.
But this idyllic lifestyle of privilege and performing ended abruptly when the British government withdrew 10% of its army in India, and Leo was one of those given notice of discharge. In 1933, the Milligans found themselves on a boat to England.
I think I was about 8 when I came back to London, and Spike was about 15. That was a shock, because of course from out of this wonderful sunshine we came back to winter in London, freezing temperatures that we were not used to. You know, oh dear, were we kids unhappy.
I think he was bereft when he came here. You know, he said to me he missed the colours, the colour of India, the colour of the dresses and the colour of the skies. And he came here to a grey, miserable, nothing life, you know. And I think it had a tremendous effect on him.
Catford was now home for the Milligans and poverty loomed. While his dad tried to find work, Terence left school age 15 to help bring home the bacon in a series of dead-end jobs whilst dreaming of making it as a musician.
Well, he was a happy, jolly, sparking young lad, you know, playing and enjoying himself, and quickly learning musical instruments. Started on guitar, and then he went to double bass and finally to trumpet.
In June 1940, Terence left London for Bexhill to train with the 56th Heavy Regiment Royal Artillery, taking his trumpet with him.
The war arrived, he got called into the army, he got his nickname, Spike Milligan. He got the nickname because, of course, he played trumpet like Spike Jones and the other people in jazz bands.
Spike loved army life and formed a band, the Boys of Battery D, who were a hit with the Bexhill locals. But training was scant preparation for the grim reality of war. Arriving in Africa in 1943, Spike got his band playing in concert parties to relieve the horrors of combat.
Oh, he was a riot. You never knew what Spike was going to do from one moment to the next. I couldn't even start to tell you some of the things he got up to. He never stopped. In fact, he was a medicine to us. His humour was amazing.
I heard a noise behind me, and I looked around and there was 3 German paratroopers with their hands up like this. This officer said, what's going on, Milligan? I said, there's 3 German paratroopers here, sir. He said, well, ask them what they want. They want to surrender, sir. He said, well, tell them we haven't got the facilities. How do we win?
In 1944, stationed just outside Cassino in Italy, Spike was injured by an exploding mortar.
There was a huge bombardment, and he was in the middle of it, and he got blown up, somersaulted, and when he came down, he was, you know. So, and it took a little time for him to recover from that.
Wounded, battle-fatigued and shell-shocked, he was taken to a rehab centre where he ran into his mate, Reg Bennett.
I was shaking from head to foot. I couldn't speak properly. And Spike was the same. So you really can imagine what a couple of twits we were. One had to go before a psychiatrist every day. And it was reputed that when Spike went before the psychiatrist went the same way as Spike.
Spike was deemed unfit for active service and was posted to the entertainment unit. Here he befriended another battle-weary comedian, Harry Seacombe. He also joined a comedy musical act, the Bill Hall Trio. And as the war ended, his hopes were pinned on becoming a successful entertainer back home.
After the war, there was part of the establishment that wanted to restore things as they were pre-war and just get things back to decent behaviour and with a few improvements for the working class. But of course, this whole surge of energy from these soldiers who'd had the whole of their life broken and the civilian population that had been bombed to hell, there was no going back. People wanted change.
Spike was just one of legions of would-be comedians attempting to make their mark. Harry Seacombe was having more success and introduced Spike to his friends Peter Sellers and Michael Benteen. Bantering together in the Grafton Arms pub, their gooning around eventually became
The Goons!
The Goons weren't the first to do crazy stuff by any stretch, but there was something peculiarly British about it.
Tiggling! Oh, the telephone book. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Snap! Splendid. Bring again tomorrow, we'll have another game. Oh, hurry.
It was a family ritual, sitting around at Sunday lunch and listening to the Goon Show. We'd never heard anything like it, something so freewheeling and sort of outrageous and surreal.
Those beautiful lines, those Spike Milligan jokes, they're beautifully constructed. They just feed your imagination.
Very quickly, this became an institution, and everybody knew who Spike Milligan was.
Over this door at once or we break it down.
Where did you get a name like that?
Dad did something that had never been done before. It was outrageous humour, it was childish, ridiculous. People needed some enjoyment in their life, and boy, did he give it to them with the Goons.
That lovely melody that I have recorded for my latest film, which is now showing north of the river, and it's called If I Had to Do It All Over Again, I'd Do It All Over You. What? Oh, you haven't touched a drop.
With the riotous success of The Goon Show in the early 50s, Spike Milligan was at the epicentre of a new comedy talent explosion in Britain.
What I liked about Spike, he had a way of writing that nobody else has.
Why ain't you got no clothes on?
Oh, I've just been making a phone call.
You don't have to undress for that.
We learn something new every day.
We formed an alliance between us, and we got ourselves an office in Shepherd's Bush.
From their new HQ above a greengrocer on London's Uxbridge Road, Eric Sykes and Spike hatched a plan to set up their own cooperative for writers. The first people Spike approached to join them were the hottest new talent in radio, Tony Hancock's writers, Galton and Simpson.
It came about that there'd be, Spike, Eric, Alan and myself as the directors of the agency. And then he said, well, we've got to get someone to run it. So we thought, well, we'd get somebody on our side. So we suggested Beryl Virtue.
It was exciting they were forming this company, and they had a very altruistic view to other writers, that they wanted to encourage new talent into the industry. and we became known as the Fun Factory.
We thought of ourselves as a group of genii, geniuses, and we behaved accordingly. We were outrageous and proud.
We all got hysterical at lunchtime one day, just blowing raspberries at each other and things like that. I know it sounds not very funny and childish, but of course it was. But we were all in hysterics. We had calls from the BBC. Producers were phoning up saying, like that. And
Peter Sellers flying from Los Angeles.
This is the strangest part. Don't ask me how he did it. They lowered Harry Seacombe out of the window with a vacuum cleaner pipe, and our window was open about that much. And
he knocked on the window.
He poked it through, let it down, and of course they were there, and they were all upstairs blowing raspberries through this thing at us. And we didn't know where they were coming from at the time.
I know, got a lot of you.
In January 1952, Spike married June Marlowe, whom he'd met through Peter Sellers.
June was quite a voluptuous lady, really, and dark and attractive, I thought. When his children were born, he was just thrilled.
She was a very charming woman, but I think Spike was probably very difficult to live with. He was so erratic.
He did things that wouldn't sort of particularly help a marriage, you would say. He got this tape. He decided that he would tape all his farts. So he did that, and he put some pleasant music on it. He took it home, and at a dinner party, he said, would you like a little bit of music? And to June's friends, I think it was, who he had in mind. And so he started playing this music, and then all the farts sort of interrupted the music, and the people went home. So June was a bit upset. Oh, dear.
But the expectation of being a husband and new father, combined with the intensity of producing a Goon Show script every week, began to take its toll on Spike.
It's a strain writing a weekly show, especially one of that kind. And also the more popular it becomes, the more demanding you are of yourself, really, almost more than the public, to be brilliant every week.
I mean, you could be speaking to Spike and suddenly his eyes would start to melt and go, and then he'd disappear and get into his room. We weren't too sympathetic, I must say, in our early days.
We didn't realise how ill he was, I suppose.
The stress became so great, he suffered a nervous breakdown and was admitted to a psychiatric hospital for several weeks. In later years, Spike would blame the pressure of writing The Goons for the end of his marriage to June.
She was living with a madman, and, if he didn't like her hats, he'd burn them, It lasted while it lasted, and then it fractured, and he fought to have the children.
I think it must have been very hard for June, because she was a really good mother, and it was extremely unusual for a father to have the custody when she hadn't particularly done anything wrong,
At one point, she did say to me, she obviously felt she had to tell me, that Dad always said I got custody of you. And she said, actually, your father didn't get custody of you. You were actually made wards of court. No one got custody of you. She said, but I decided that you would have a better upbringing with your father.
Spike now faced the prospect of raising Laura, Sean and Seeley alone.
I think my father thought it was going to be easy, and he wanted to prove to the world he could easily bring up 3 young children on their own. But he did actually find it quite difficult. He struggled to keep control of us. It could be very amusing because he'd cook spaghetti every night. That was all he knew how to cook. But we were allowed to do all the things we hadn't been allowed to do at the table. We were allowed to whiplash with spaghetti, and we would have races with spaghetti, who could suck it up the fastest. My brother would have it hanging out of his nose. I think he realised how he felt about it, like letting children do whatever they want, when he was actually experiencing it. I think he then got a nanny.
he would take us for holidays down in Winchelsea, and that was just gorgeous. It was fields, sheep, beaches.
He'd take us on bunny trips on top of the Mini. He'd tie us on the top of the Mini in our pyjamas and put little chairs up there and take us bunny spotting through the streets with lights at night to look for bunnies.
He cared about them so much. And he was a great father, I thought. They certainly have good memories of him.
What's this behind this tree for?
Spike's guilt over his marriage breakdown inspired his first book.
The Silly Book of Verse for Kids by Spike Milligan.
Written to help cheer up his children, Silly Verse for Kids went on to become a modern classic.
I'm not frightened of pussycats. They only eat up mice and rats. But a hippopotamus could eat the lot of us.
He had Sean, Celia and me in one massive bedroom, and one wall was painted all chalkboard because he got sick of us drawing on the walls. And that chalkboard was used to create all his children's books and characters. That was one of the best fun times when he came in to say goodnight and tell us mad stories and draw them on the wall and become the characters himself.
I've never felt finer, said the King of China, sitting down to dine. He fell down dead. He died, he did. It was only 9:30. Now, you can read this at 9:45 as well. It sounds the same. Bye, 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 Ford.
Spike was always pushing against the barriers and the buffers in every way, in life as well as in our business. He was always pushing forward. What can we do with this? Onward, onward. And then, of course, when he went into television, he was using that medium as well.
Let's have a look and see what tonight's weather's going to be like, shall we?
To me, it was an extension of the Goon Show. It's the same. It's all the same style of humour, same type of thing, you know.
It's a very, very English type of humour. There is no other country in the world have humour like the English. And I mean, I'm saying that being Scottish.
When you're feeling low down and you can't find romance, leap into a dustbin and dance. Oh, when your friends forsake you and you can't find romance, jump into a dustbin and dance.
He was too far ahead of his time. I was with Spike and we looked out a window across London. The show went out something like 11 o'clock at night, and we looked across London, there were 2 lights on, and Spike said, "That's our audience."
As he moved into areas other than radio, Spike's personal life also flourished. In 1961, he met Patricia Ridgway, a singer and dancer, who at 25 was 17 years Spike's junior. They married the following year.
I loved Paddy. I thought she was I thought she was a terrific person. She had such humour, and she was stunningly good looking.
She came along when I was 4.5, 5. I think I very quickly transferred to calling her Mum, and she was my mum.
I was really happy to have Paddy around. She was the most beautiful woman. It was lovely. A mother's take you out, take you to the shops, buy you pretty dresses, buy you pretty shoes, do your hair, you know. Lovely.
Every night when we went to bed, she would sit on the landing on this huge chest and she would sing us to sleep. She didn't have it easy to walk into a family that young and have to suddenly take on 3 children that have been through emotional trauma, a dad who doesn't do any disciplining at all, and with all the problems of his manic depression, which is why my biological mother, June, left.
In 1966, Spike and Paddy's daughter Jane was born, and the Milligan family was complete.
The family was special, and I felt very, very loved. Very, very loved. It was just a really nice family for me. It was perfect.
funny, love you, honey, little honey, funny, sunny morning, love you, more funny, love in the skyline, baby. Ice cream, excuse me, I seen you looking good the other evening.
Follow me now. Very quiet. Shh. Oh, an arrow's fallen to me.
He loved keeping children's imaginations alive. He told us there were fairies in the garden. So we write to the fairies, will they write back? Oh, yes, 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 yes. Well, we had a huge allotment, overgrown allotment at the back of the garden. And we'd say, oh, we've left fairy letters. And he'd, oh, that's lovely, where? In the grass, you know, and he's trying to decipher where we've put them. And you'd say, by a tree, near a twig. And then, you know, it wasn't till later I realised he was going down with a torch, finding the fairy letters and writing tiny little ones back to us.
Tiny, tiny bits of paper folded into envelopes, tiny writing, tiny stamps, would be under pillows.
In your underwear drawer or something, a letter from Pixies and Fairies. It's just absolutely magic. It's magic.
I realised in later life that the things that he did were quite unique and very rare.
Now, just look at the page one after the other and tell me if they look neat enough, because I've got a bit too close to it.
Spike's love of weaving fairy tales for his children inspired the best-selling Bad Jelly the Witch.
Bad Jelly came through years of telling stories to all 4 of his kids, and that was the best of his stuff, and he put it down on paper. And the beauty of it was that he wrote it all by hand in the first printing, and he very kindly dedicated it to me, age 6.
I love her so much, I love my children so much, I thought I do want to do something more than go and buy something in a shop, you know. So I thought I'll write a story in longhand and have it bound for her for Christmas.
He let me draw the inside cover drawing, which of course is terrible, but it's by me, and so for him it's perfect.
I went to the animals fair, the birds and beasts were there. The old baboon with the light of the moon was combing his auburn hair.
He had this childlike quality, and it was evident in his writing of the children's poetry. And he used to say to me, it's the meter on the ning-nang-nong. That's what the children like. Listen to the meter, Norma, you know. He had this affinity with children. They never hurt him.
Meanwhile, Milligan's adult audience were kept guessing by the series that was to change the rules of British comedy, Q.
I was blown by what he was doing with the sketch format and that he was doing something entirely new.
Get ready and do it now. It's easy when you know how.
Hello, boys! Remember me?
In 1969, Q5 exploded onto British television with a comedic anarchy that was pure Spike Milligan.
Spike Milligan, he sort of changed the world of British comedy by what he was doing.
And now, an edit in the tape. Another edit in the tape. Yet another edit in the tape. Ah, saved by death.
It was very happy to just say, when they got fed up with the sketch, just to finish it without having an ending. So, yeah, they would just say, oh, well, that's enough of that, I think, or something, you know, let's move on.
The BBC News Presentation Department have decided to change their image. Honest.
That's great! Keep it like that, man. That's great. Keep it like that.
That's good, that bit.
The thing about Milligan's shows is they're not politically correct.
There are sort of moments in them which we perceive now as being racist, because they are.
A suicide dish now ready for ritual slaughter.
And even in those days, I didn't find it funny, but you couldn't stop Spike.
He was very determined that nobody was going to tell him what to do, so trying to impose any kind of censorship on him would I'm sure, just drive him to, you know, even greater heights to be outrageous.
How's Mr. Banerjee?
He's not very well.
Why?
I exterminated him.
I remember seeing the first Q shows and thinking, oh, he's done it.
Well, I hope she's satisfied. Second time tonight.
I suddenly realised we'd been writing in cliches. You either did a 3-minute sketch with a punchline or you did a 30-second blackout. And suddenly Spike was he was starting something, a sketch, and then it would sort of meander into something else, and then the Scots Guards band would march in, and you'd go with them, and he was changing the format of comedy and exploding it.
Good heavens, there's an elephant on the pitch!
What are we going to do now? What are we going to do now?
I remember thinking, maybe we could do that with Python. We wouldn't have done what we did if it hadn't been for Spike.
In his private life, Spike still suffered with severe depressions.
When you live with someone who's got bipolar as advanced as his, that you want to take your own life, it dominates all the people around you. Paddy looked after him so well and spent a lot of time on him, nurturing him when he was in these down periods. I think she was the nearest he ever got to love and happiness with a woman.
What's it like being Mrs. Spike Milligan?
Interesting. I don't really... I wouldn't know how to answer that question.
She loved him so much, but they were... I don't know, Dad was a naughty man, wasn't he? I mean, I could sit here and go, oh, no, he wasn't. Rubbish.
Although married, Spike continued to see other women, several of whom he'd established affairs with before he had met Paddy.
He had his affairs, but he never left Paddy. And you see, to him, he's a man. They expect it, They expect to have the cake and eat it. And Paddy allowed it.
I know that their relationship, where he was a naughty boy and off he went, but so was she. When he, she thought, well, sod this. And I think they had a working relationship, which a lot of people do.
I swear on my life to this day they absolutely adored each other. Just sad, really. Sad that, you'll never know what the outcome was because she got cancer.
After a 4-year fight with breast cancer, Paddy Milligan died in 1978. She was 43.
It was just a tragedy, what happened to her. Just a tragedy. I think he regretted behaving badly toward her.
He was desperate when Mum died, desperate. I don't decry myself or my older brother or sister, of course he felt for us. But he had Jane, who was 11, and her mum had died. I mean, how easy is that for a man to deal with?
Dad really liked to be married, and he needed a nice woman to look after him and to cook for him and be there, and somebody interesting to talk to. He liked to be married.
Having worked as a temp for Spike in 1974, Sheila Sinclair had struck up a friendship with the comedian, which later turned to love.
I just knew he was that nutter, that. Of course, he was not a nutter because he's absolutely the sanest man I know in a way. But that was a discovery process.
Sheila soon discovered that life with Spike was far from dull and that he could steal a scene, even in the Tunisian desert.
We were shooting Life of Brian. When John Cleese arrived that morning, he said, well, actually, I'm staying in the same hotel as Spike Milligan. He's on holiday here.
We all met up that night, and they said, come on, Spike, you must be in it. He said, all right, then. And we turned up the next day, and they just dressed Spike up, and then he suddenly dressed me up, which was really scary for me, because I didn't know what on earth to do. But he said, just smile at the camera and follow me.
We were shooting the crowd scene where they pick up Brian's sandal, I think it is, and we shot this master shot with the whole crowd, and at the end of it, we hadn't rehearsed it at all. Spike just sort of stayed as the crowd all ran past and said, stop, stop, stop. He was just making this up as he went along, and then he just sort of turned and walked off camera. That was the only improvised python, really, because I didn't know about what he was going to do.
It's barbarous, it's inhuman, it's against all that we stand for.
Away from the limelight, he was a completely different man. He was incredibly compassionate man.
He saved seals, he saved whales, he saved dolphins, trees, architecture. I mean, he was just going for everything.
We are right, they are wrong. Let us go on being right.
Some people would accuse him of saying, well, he was a self-publicist when he did this, because it'd always be Spike Milligan in the foreground. But, I mean, that can't be helped. He did care about these things.
What he did privately that unrecognised, that people don't know about in everyday life, like, pay for a boy who's in prison and pay him money every month to get him back out of prison on the road to rights. The girl who was in a mental hospital, who'd have been there for life, who he fought to get out.
And he's thought of a very good idea, which I'm going to try and implement. It's a chain letter on behalf of having you released from prison and at least put into a more sociable setting.
She's now in her own flat, and he knew she loved animals, so he sent her his pension every month to have a pony. She always wanted a pony.
And I do believe that he was the most compassionate man that I ever met. And the compassion was his saving grace.
Spike would have a theory of the human race being washed up, finished, and a load of idiots, and yet he would lavish love and attention and care on individuals. When I was in mental hospital, he wrote to me. He was just very caring. It's when I was well that he was difficult.
I phoned him from Australia. I said, Harry.
He loved his friends. He was very close with his friends, and he would make friends with certain people that he was friends with forever and ever.
He got on well with show people, but, he didn't love them as much as he loved his pals, the chaps he met in the army. He thought a lot of them.
I get a job driving a Jeep for a colonel, you see. And I'm driving this Jeep for this colonel, and he calls me Terence.
No.
Strange.
That's
Terence.
a bad start.
And I got shorts on, and I was driving him back from Naples to Caserta, and suddenly his hand goes up me shorts, you see. So I said to him, sir, does this mean promotion?
Spike's war years provided him with material for 6 volumes of memoirs, beginning with Adolf Hitler, My Part in His Downfall. His skill at telling anecdotes established him as a favourite chat show guest.
Ladies and gentlemen, Spike Milligan.
Which became practically a second career.
What about travelling? Do you enjoy travelling?
Yes, I came here, didn't I?
Oh, it is fun to be on the telly again.
What's under your hat?
Me.
My dad's a Mick, my mother's English, you know. And so he used to tell me they were a bit strange over there. And I went to the Hibernian Hotel. I must tell you this. I was saying Hibernian, and I thought, well, it's all lies about the Irish way they talk. A little porter comes out, I'll take your badge, says, follow me, Mr. Milligan, I'll be right behind you.
But while Spike was happy to talk about nearly everything in his life, there were certain aspects that he tried to keep secret.
I remember Dad ringing us up and saying, bit of a problem. He was distraught. It's not funny. He was distraught, but he had to tell his family, and one by one he was going through us all on the phone, I had a child with a woman in 1975, and he's called James, and it's all going to be in the papers tomorrow. And
I've got to go now because I need to tell your sister. And that was it. And I was just like, what?
And then we laughed about, there couldn't be another one. And then about 3 months later, we found out we had a half-sister, Romany.
Romany was born in 1973 from Spike's affair with London-based Canadian journalist Roberta Watt.
She was very nice, Roberta. She was silly. She was in love with him, and, it was going to end nowhere. And she was a highly intelligent person, Roberta.
I do remember very clearly asking my mum one day when I was probably 5 or 6 maybe, and I did ask her, I said, what's my daddy's name? And she said his name is Terence, and that seemed to be good enough for me.
Spike provided financially for Romany, as he had for James, but had no part in either child's upbringing.
Growing up with my mother, Roberta, was, it seems, always an adventure. It was really a case of us having really our own little life on the go, which of course was brought to a dramatic end when I was 7. She had gone in for gallbladder surgery. She got infections and consequently died of that.
Romany's grandparents flew from Canada to collect her and raised her themselves in British Columbia.
My grandparents were always open and honest that he was my father. I guess it was just never that big of a deal for us. I was in my early 20s. I kind of put this letter together, and I really put it together as more of a fan letter than anything, because I just didn't want to put the pressure on, you know. If he didn't want to respond in that way, he wouldn't have to.
Spike did respond immediately and invited Romany to come and meet her siblings and to stay with him and Sheila.
When we first actually met, he was standing at the door in his slippers and his sweater, and I went right over and we had a hug, and we just started talking, you know, and we did for 2 weeks.
Spike was delighted with her, and it was a very happy ending because she felt very much cared for by Spike, because he was able to show his affection to her. And she was adult enough to actually understand the whole scenario and was really happy to know him as she did.
Phantom raspberry blur of old London, do we plead naughty or not naughty?
When his series Q ended in 1982, Spike found that no broadcaster had room for his particular brand of comedy.
This is a lady whose knickers have fallen down.
But that isn't a sporting cartoon, is it?
I think that's very sporting.
Unperturbed, he appeared as a guest wherever they dared invite him.
Please welcome Spike Milligan.
He was very funny in the Room 101 interview, you know, where he was sort of just, you know, he doesn't see the film clips until we're there and we're showing him these film clips, and he's just been spontaneously funny and natural about them, and it was a joy just to be sort of sharing that same sort of oblong box with him for a little while.
Yes. Now, why do you hate Portsmouth?
Well, I appeared on the stage there 3 times and I died the bloody death. I could hear myself walking off the stage.
I think it's a good portrait of what he was like in his later years, certainly as a performer, anyway.
How long does this bloody show go on? I've got to go have dinner.
We'll be done by then.
All right, go on, carry on then.
OK.
He actually didn't like getting old because he wasn't old inside. I do think his depression eased up quite a lot. He said to me, I'm not manic depressive any longer. I said, OK, so you're just in a bloody awful mood then when you get like that, are you?
One of Spike's greatest pleasures in later life was the arrival of grandchildren.
He couldn't bear us growing up. He wanted us to be lost in that fairy tale world in the woods of posting pixies and fairies letters and making mud pies. And I think by having grandchildren, it rebirthed his own children for him and took him back to that innocent place that he wanted to be.
Well, I remember he used to say to a lot of people that, you know, he didn't get on with adults, he got on with kids. So it's like a lot of the time when we went down, it's almost like we clicked on a different level compared with parents, and it's quite weird.
Obviously, he was still a kid at heart.
Just stuff like I remember shooting an air rifle in his bedroom at, like, sheets of paper about 5 foot away from me, and you think, God, any sane adult would not be doing this with an 8-year-old kid. But it was brilliant at the time.
He used to call me his favourite granddaughter, but that kind of loses a bit of meaning now, I guess, that you note that I was the only one. I remember all the stupid faces. Like, I learnt from the master. Like, I can do some seriously weird faces now, all learning from him. It was, yeah, they used to put me in hysterics when I was little. Like.
In 1994, the powers that be decided that Spike's remarkable contribution to comedy should be properly recognised. His acceptance for his Lifetime Achievement Gong is still, for many, the Comedy Awards moment of all time.
They should have given him the award about 3 glasses earlier.
There was a long, long time before it started with a lot of bottles of wine on the table.
Here we go. I have a letter to read out to you from His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales.
Do I kneel down for this?
I know, actually, that he got embarrassed by this kind of wonderful eulogy, virtually, from Prince Charles, which was beautiful. But I don't think he could stand the embarrassment. And it just came out, and lots of Spike's best lines just come out.
As someone who grew up to the sounds of the Goon Show on the steam-driven wireless, I must confess that I've been a lifelong fan of the participants in the show, and particularly of Spike Milligan.
Oh, the little grovelling...
And it was that moment's silence after he'd said it. It was absolutely deathly quiet before people began rolling around laughing. And then next day, Spike sent Prince Charles a telegram and said, I suppose the night was out of the question. And Prince Charles sent one back saying, little gentle grovelling might do you good.
In 2000, Spike was indeed awarded, as an Irish national, an honorary knighthood by his friend and fan, the Prince of Wales. Around this time, Spike's health began to deteriorate.
He had kidney failure and had dialysis, which was really pretty hard for him. But he actually amazed me how tolerant he was of it and accepting that this is what he had to do.
Oh, he was a wonderful patient. He was the most amazing patient, it really was. All sorts of stuff, hysterical stuff, of course, happened in the hospital when first he was properly diagnosed, and we were in the posh hospital in London at the time, and he was being wheeled from intensive care through to his room, so things were looking better, and he woke up and he said, where are we? And I remember one of the parties saying, it's all right, Dad, we're just moving you to a room. I like travel. Good, I like travel.
He fought it all the way. That ball of energy was still in there, but it couldn't get out anymore.
When he was unwell, I'd been going down there quite a lot. And we had a chat. And then I said, well, Spike, I must get cracking now. Get yourself up and about and we'll meet up again. Cheerio, and I started to walk out. And as I got to the door, he called my name. And I said, yes, Spike, what is it? He said, Reg, take care of yourself. You mean a lot to me. And that was the last thing he ever said to me. Bury me anywhere, somewhere near a tree, some place where a horse will graze and gallop over me. Bury me somewhere near a stream. When she floods her banks, I'll give her thanks for reaching out to me. So bury me in my childhood scene, but please don't burn me in Golders Green.
He's remembered for the one thing he wanted to be remembered for being a clown. He loved the thought of being called the clown.
I remember him running down the stairs. He always jumped the last 4 stairs. He bum, 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 bum. And Eric used to say, Spike's in. Funny thing, tiny little things you remember, you know. But I suppose really remember him playing the trumpet, which was the love of his life.
To me, he is an idol and an icon, and I miss him sadly. There are times when I feel that he's still in this building.
If you look back on Spike's career, I don't think you can say something is his greatest work, because he just touched so many areas. So really, take the guy, take everything, and just say thanks.
Generally proud of him, whatever he did, really. Except going, yeah, Daddy, when he was dancing, which really upset me. That really was like, oh, God, Dad, please. All of us felt like that.
I just remember him as a fantastic father, and I miss him immensely.
I took a job 6 years ago in a little prep school in Muswell Hill, and I was amazed to see that the sort of the SATS level English book that they have to read from has a couple of Dad's poems in it. My heart just, you know, it's great. I love it. I want him to live on. It should live on.
On the Ning Nang Nong, where the cows go bong and the monkeys all say boo.
There's a Nong Nang Ning, where the trees go ping and the teapots jibber jabber joo.
On the Nong Ning Nang,
where the mice go clang and you just can't catch them when they do.
So it's the Ning Nang Nong. The cows go bong.
Nong Nang Ning.
Trees go ping.
Nong Ning Nang.
The mice go clang.
What a noisy place to belong.
Is the Ning Nang Ning Nang Nong.
Well, Bette Midler, Cilla Black and Emmerdale's Danny Miller are here for a festive special with Paul O'Grady's Christmas tomorrow night. It is Christmas Eve, of course, at 9 o'clock. After the news, though, next tonight, Chaz's hen night is about to end up in chaos when Kane takes matters into his own hands in Emmerdale.